So our lesson for today means sold out for the kingdom. How do we stay sold out for the kingdom and endure to the end? Right? So we know that we need salvation-wise to endure to the end. We know that, there's going to be, as the scripture says, when the seeds are planted, there's going to be some that fall by the wayside. Some will spring up and die out. Some will get choked out, right? And then the good seed will grow and be fruitful. So we talked about that. We talked about even how, in the last days said there would be the weed would be mixed in with the seeds. And he said, let them grow together, right? So we talked about the Samaritans, how they came, right, as a different people, how they grew up together. And then, y'all start separating them. And then Yahusha came after that and then brought some of them back because of their heart was right? So we can see that's going to happen in the last days. And now we're going to be talking about us personally, right? What does that fit us personally? All right, so we always have the fair use disclaimer because I'll cut these videos up and show in different times online. So next. So a lot of people, we use the NASB, just want to let people know and why we use it. Not that it's the best translation. Like I said, most of these go based upon the Masoretic text, so you're going to have some differences and stuff between them. But number one, that this is more word for word. So when you're actually looking at different translations, do you want to, like if you take Chinese, right? And it says I don't know. Well, let's do our language. All right. When somebody say something is cool, does that mean it's cold? That means it's like nice. I want to be part of it. It's cool, right? But somebody who's not from here, they're gonna think you're gonna talk about cold, right? So when you look word for word, it's gonna say cool is cold. It's not gonna say it's not gonna try to take the slang and mix it in. So Hebrew has a lot of idioms. So when they translate in NSB, it's gonna say word for word. It's not gonna tell you what it meant behind it. But the more you go this way, it starts going more for thought, like, hey, this is what the thought meant based upon our understanding or their understanding as whoever they were, mostly, European American people that took the thought and they're going to put it based upon their thoughts, right? And then there's a paraphrase where they just change the whole right. They just make it all like based upon their doctrine or whatever else. So we try to use the thought for thought. The most literal form in NASB. But NASB also will show you in the New Testament, which people call it, the Brit Hadashah, we call it. It will show uppercase, right? Whenever they make a reference to the Tanakh, it'll be in uppercase. And that's very important because a lot of people don't realize how much in the Brit Hadashah New Testament is basically just talking about what was discussed in the Tanakh, the Old Testament. So if you don't have an understanding of the Tanakh, I know when being a minister, Christian minister before, a lot of times they said, you don't have to read the Old Testament, just read the New Testament, right? But how are you going to get that understanding unless you know what the references are, right? So that's the reason why we do NASB, because it will show, hey, like, this is a reference. You need to go look it up and understand what this means. And that's why we use NASB. All right. So talking about that scripture, we're on Matthew 13. So in Matthew 13, I asked some people to read. Well, I'm sorry, I forgot. They won't hear it online. So I'll read. I'm trying to save some of my voice. Oh, yeah, that'd be good. That'd be good. Yeah, that'll be good. So if you could help me read somebody, we'll pass this around, okay? So somebody read this first verse. Anybody be willing to read? You willing to read? Yes, in NASB. It don't matter. If you got a different version, it's okay. They'll see it on the screen.
I got 44.
Matthew 13:44. Yes.
Okay. Trying to get there. All right. The kingdom of heaven is like a treasure hidden in the field, which a man found and hid again. And from joy over it, he goes and sells everything that he has and buys that field.
Thank you. So the kingdom of heaven is like a treasure in the field. So can you imagine just walking down the street, right? And you're walking through, you look an abandoned kind of piece of land. And you walk and you look down and you see like a beginning of some kind of little treasure box, and you dig and you see some treasure gold. What you gonna do, right? Like if you find out that's not anybody's land, what would you do? You hide it and you go try to buy it, right? Because you're like, wow, that's worth a lot. That land is worth a lot. I need to buy that land, right? But so he found the treasure. After he found it, he delighted in it, but he wanted to make it his own, right? So he sold everything he had in order to be part of that, obtain that wealth. And he said, that's the kingdom. That's the kingdom of heaven. So how many of us have that desire like that? that this is something I found, especially now that we found out that we are a royal family, right? Part of the bloodline of the Messiah. How valuable is that to you? Is it just like, oh, wow, okay, what's next on the news, right? It's just, or is this like, the Bible in itself? When I got saved, I was overjoyed, right? I was like, wow, I know all the mess I did. Thank you for saving my life. That was number one. Then finding out that, wait a minute, all these years we told we were cursed, we were nobody, and we talked about the curse of Ham, we were cursed people, and I was just happy to be part of something no longer to be cursed. Now I find out all that's been a lie all this time, and we actually were the ones that were chosen from the beginning on top of salvation. I mean, I had no problem with the white Jesus. At first, I had no problem. I was like, okay, he saved my soul. Hey, I'm good. I'm saved. But then I'm like, wait a minute. I think I told y'all that story when I went to my friend's house. He had that picture of that black Jesus. I was like, y'all going to hell. Y'all not supposed to have Jesus black. But now I'm like, oh, he is black. Like Billy Graham even said it, right? Like he said he's a dark-skinned man. I'm like, so wait a minute, that's family. So now everybody was talking about Gentile and Jew. They always say that, oh, we don't have to worry about that with Gentiles. Well, now we found out we're not them Gentiles, we the Jew part. And he said that it will be a greater blessing and judgment first to Israel. So the blessing part is happy, but what about Islam? But what about the judgment part? That's a little more scary, right? So, I always tell people when I first became a minister, I was, felt called to be a minister, and I was crying because I'm like, that was a lot of accountability. I'm like, y'all, you sure? Like me, I've had problems, learning, what they used to say, learning disabilities and stuff, right? And I'm like, you sure you want to be me? I'm kind of like Moses. I'm stuttering and stammering. And I was like, okay, crying to the point I'm like, I just gave in, right? But now I felt the same way when you said we were the Israelites. I won't like just, yay, we Israelites. I was like, oh my, if we the Israelites, the accountability that we now have. Now I'm like, that's a great accountability because that's prophecy. He said that's the reason why we got into the slave trade and resold and all that stuff. Not because of the white man, it's because our relationship with him. Now we broke the covenant that he had for us to be the holy and righteous people, right? So that's scary to me. I don't say a lot of people like to get the pride and stuff and think that this is a faith, but now looking at prophecy in relation to the world and stuff, I'm like, I can understand prophecy a lot more now. I couldn't understand all the books before Revelation. I'm like, what is up? But now I'm like, I can understand. Just like the scripture I read at the very beginning, right? It's like, wow, how many times did I miss that? Now our church had us, from those that was part of Solid Rock, our pastor had us reading the Bible every year, the 1 year Bible, just reading it over and over again. I still missed it because my viewpoint was an understanding of who we were. But now I'm like, oh, wow, this is why this happened? Oh, wow. So now, okay. And then now hearing what the Jewish people say about us, right? They say we the Israelites. I'm like, say we the ancient. Now, Jewish people saying this about us. And that's when I was like, oh, wow, I was trying to disprove it for so long. And I was like, this is something here. There's something more than I knew. Like, okay, so if they saying it, why are they saying it? So we'll get to that another time, which is not what people think. But it's still that they know in their book, the Gemara said that the 10 tribes went to Africa, right? So what does that mean? Why do they say that we need to wake up and say in the last days that the 10 tribes, which we are part of Judah even, but anyway, based on that understanding, and this is Kabbalah, the 10 tribes will save Israel in the last days. And they send the Africans. So you see a little Jewish rabbi go and tell the Africans who they were and why it's important for them to know. But that's for another day. But so all this stuff is happening. It's like, so why are we in the position that we are now? Why are they trying to take away Black history from schools? But, it's terrible what happened to them as well as part of the Holocaust. They're going to keep teaching that. But they're not going to teach our history. Why? What's so special? They're going to teach Native American history, but they're going to take away African American history after all that happened to us. Want to close museums and all that. Why? Maybe we follow that cookie trail. We'll get to those figures that I showed at the beginning, right? The Jacob Labanzos and the Matthias de Sosa and Pedro Nino. We're like, wait a minute. There's something more to our history that we don't know, right? So they try to hide us. So that's the reason why we talk to people in Africa and stuff, talk about their history, and they'll tell us, and their history has been taken from colonization. They went in there and forced them to speak language in their own country. That's terrible, right? But why do they do that? Why do they want to strip that away? Because it goes back to prophecy, right? So as we talk about Revelation in Bible study, right? We talk about Gog and Magog, right? Those are from the sons of Japheth. So why is that important now? Why will y'all tell us in the book of Revelation, keep your eye on Gog and Magog, a Japhetic nation, right? Why is that important? So we got to make sure that we understand like how important this is to us, how important it is to you that you found the kingdom that was lost, that's now found, like a treasure. Is it something now that's just like, oh yeah, I'm good? Or is it like, wow, I'm now dedicated to, should be through salvation, not because of who we are as Israelites, but the fact that the Messiah came and died on the cross for our sins, and now we're like, should be thankful for that, right? We were going to go to hell, but he saved us. Isn't that valuable? Shouldn't that be the most valuable thing of your life? Not to burden hell forever. So, but do our action reflect that? Right? So let's go to the next one. Somebody else like to read or same? You'll read? All right, go ahead. Little Art, go.
45?
Yes, 33, 44 through, 45 and 46.
Again, the kingdom of heaven is like a merchant seeking fine pearls, and upon finding one pearl of great value, he went and sold everything that he had and bought it.
Thank you. So another example, he keeps on talking about the kingdom of heaven, the value of the kingdom. Do we look at that as that valuable to the point where we're number one to seeking the kingdom? How do we seek the kingdom now? Anybody? Read the word. Study. Way we live. How about keeping them feast days?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Right? He said to do this for a reason, because it all reflects back to who Yahushua is, if you understand those feast days, right? And how he fulfilled them or will be fulfilling them in the future. So it's like, but are we seeking out that truth? Or is it just like, oh, it's good reading. I got something else more important to read, right? Like, how much value is it there? Not only did he was seeking it out, once he found it, he went and sold out for it. That's what today's lesson is, right? To be sold out for the kingdom of Yah. Are we truly sold out? You know, do we really want to make sure that our children read the word? It's important that they have a career. It's important that they, you know, become successful in life, have a successful families. But how do we do that unless we embed them with the morals of the Bible? So how much time do we spend on education, which is good, do we do with having them understand the word? How much time is that? Which one gets more or less important, right? So even with our own self, when we actually talking about as men, right? We want to be leaders of our house, but how much time do we spend praying for our wives or our children, right? We're supposed to be the head of the house. So are we leading our families forward? Or, you know, we just like, hey, get it on your own, right? I'm heading you with money, but I'm not heading you with the spiritual, being the priest of the house. And then even with the women, right? As wives or as daughters or even as mothers, right? How much of nurturing are you doing for your family? That's that Am. What does Am mean? Anybody know? What does Ab mean? The letter Ab, the first one. Strong, ox, strong. Mem is what? Like mud, glue, the glue. The strong glue of the family, that's the Am, the mother, right? Ab is strong. Bet is house. The father, he's the strong one that holds up the tent. So this is in our language about how we should be caring for our family even. But are we doing those things, right? Or are we basically, you know, as women, are we ripping the house apart or are we bringing it together? As men, are we leading the house or are we leading them astray? This is that kingdom of heaven that is talking about, to a point where he sold all that he was sold out. And that's why I tell people that's going through situations in their life and stuff, they're getting caught up with, you know, drugs or any kind of issue. When you put your foot on the gas, right, to serve Yah, you won't have time for all those other distractions. Believe me. My wife will tell you, I'm always running around, even after work, running upstairs, trying to do something, running, because, you know, that helps me, number one, to make sure I'm focused on the right way, and also helping you all. But I'm getting tired as well. So I'm thankful that we're getting some other hands to help out as well. So, but the more people that does it, that's that kingdom, because we are kingdom, not just citizens, as Miles Monroe, if y'all know Miles Monroe, he said kingdom citizen, right? We're royals of the kingdom. We're just not citizens. We're actually the bloodline. But how can we rule a kingdom or be a part of a royal kingdom with no citizens? And who are the citizens then if we reward those that we go out and reach out to and bring in? So how much time are we doing that? right? So these are the things it means to be sold out, that we have a unction within us to do the things of Yah, and it's greater than anything else, right? We got to work, we got to eat. It's not that you go and just, work in the kingdom, not feed your family. That's terrible, what Yah even said. Yahusha said it's terrible to say that it's Corbin when it comes to your elders, right? Just say, hey, we should give money to basically to the church, right? To the assembly, to the temple. And that should be good enough for my elders. Like, wait a minute, how's that going to feed them, help them get out of bed? No, you're supposed to treat your elders with respect. That's one thing that's happening in our generation, right? People not taking care of their elders. They're like, oh, and it's not very important. They're all right, but you're going to be an elder one day. You want somebody to help take care of you. So that's that family. That's why I say, who's our cousin? Raise your hands, you're my cousin. Everybody raise your hand. We all Israelites, right? we all family. So we need to help make sure we have that family. This is not a church, right? It's not like we just look at one leader and, hey, okay, we just give your tithes, we just do it. You go up there and tell us what to do. No, it's a family. It's important that we all care for one another, right? So that's why I was saying about community building and stuff. But when we are sold out for the kingdom, we can see a lot of things actually happen. So next one, somebody read the next one. It's just 2 verses. Anybody willing to read? You got a Bible you want to read? Anybody? Oh, you want to read? Oh, go ahead. So we're going to read Kingdom of Heaven. This is Matthew 13, 47, 48. So just, think about it now. He's putting it easy for us to understand this, right? 2 verses. You should just wrap it like, wow, if we really think about the value of that, it's like, wow, where are we in that? I'm talking about myself right now. I ain't just talking about, you take it as you want to, but even myself, I'm like, wow, got to do some stepping up now, right? Did you read those 2? 47, 48.
Again, the kingdom of heaven is like unto a net that was cast into the sea and gathered of every kind, which when it was full, they drew to the shore and sat down and gathered the good into the vessels, but cast the bad away.
All right. So he said again, keeps on talking about the kingdom. Like fishermen drying some fish on the big net, see some good ones and bad ones. The bad ones get thrown over here. The good ones there's a separation. Right. So how are we seeing that? Now he's talking to Israelites, right? So let's not even talk about Gentiles and people like talk about Edom and all Edomite. Let's just talk about Israelites, right? Even in the harvest, he talks about them growing together. Some going to be cast away and some are going to be kept, going to be a separation. So are we allowing, this awakening to separate us from Yah? Right? Some people getting separated from Yah and they're doing some strange stuff, I say, right? Or we basically now being dedicated to be the ones that's going to be caught up in him and doing what he wants us to do instead of what culture says or what people define as culture. That's all the way in the West in the U.S. and don't truly even understand the East, but yet we know it all, right? We know how they do it in the ancient times, even though we haven't read or been over in Israel at all, Middle East or anything. But some people think they know it all, right? So we got to be careful. We got to take it slow and understand what this is all about. But as part of that separating, because some people are not going to want to do it. Some people going to want to do it. So how does Yah look at that? It's, a lot of times in our religion is how we want to serve Yah most of the time, right? Faith is how we basically understand how he wants to be served. We walk in it. So that's what we talked about, religion versus righteousness, right? There's a difference. Religion is like, I can pick any religion. Even we got Israelite people that's Mormons, Israelite Muslims, Israelite, Jehovah's Witness, because Israelite is a ethnicity. It's not a religion, unless you say Black Hebrew Israelite. That's something different. It's some of the camps, right? They say Black Hebrew Israelite. But Hebrew Israelite is just the ethnicity, right? So as I showed you, some of those people in the Jewish encyclopedia, they call them Israelite in the Jewish encyclopedia. So Israelite is just a nation that we descend from. But when it comes to the righteous part, where do we stand? When we by ourselves, nobody's around, we on YouTube, we on Facebook, and it's a pretty picture of some man with no shirt or some woman with, stuff out. Y'all sees that, right? The other person sleeping in the room might not see it, but y'all sees it, right? What about when it comes time for prayer and I'm a little tired and sleepy, but I can stay up all night and watch 3 series on Netflix or some kind of episode for 8 hours, but I can't pray for 30 minutes, right? How does y'all see that? So as things start to come to the end, as we just read, and even in the Bible, it says that we should be more dedicated, right? So we're going to remember, Deuteronomy 30, we're going to remember the blessings and curses, right? The things that separate us, just like we read in the Song of Moses, those things that messed up our forefathers, right? That he said want to be a witness as a memory forever and ever. Where do we stand in that? Are we the ones that's going to get pushed away? As we said earlier, the seed that get all excited and gets burned out, the ones that get choked up with the things of life, or are we going to stay dedicated to him, right? And not only dedicated, but also bearing fruit. So you can be woken up trying to do what's right, but or some people say if I'm not doing wrong, I'm doing right, but it's still not obedient to what Yah called you to do, right? He has something that he wants everyone in here to do, right? No matter if it's in your family, it's in ministry or whatever, Yah wants you to do. He created you for a reason. Everybody has purpose. No matter if you've done messed up and gone astray, that's the whole thing with the prodigal son. He wants to bring you back, right? To do what he's called, what he created you to do. What were you created to do? Why he created you as an Israelite, right? There's a reason. So that's what we needed to be seeking out, because he said there's going to be a division of those that are bad and those that are good. So what does this have to do? So, yeah, so that's not too bad. I got kids in here. I want to make sure. All right, next picture. Somebody read that one. So 49 and 50. Anybody be willing to read? All right. You pass that down so they can hear it online. So we're going to read Matthew 13, 49 and 50.
So
young ox get involved. Go ahead.
So it will be at the end of the age, the angels will come forth and take out the wicked from among the righteous, and will throw them into the furnace of fire. In that place there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth.
That's what got me saved. When I was talking about life when I was 16, and somebody showed me that Notre Dame thing, I was like, nah, it wasn't right? But I was never even thought about dying up to that point. It was at school, and I was like, I do have to die one day. When you're young, you think you're invincible. But I'm like, what's this about the end of the world? I was going to church. I wasn't paying attention, but I got my attention in, right? So it's like there is an end to life. And where's that going to leave us? Where's it going to leave our children? Where's it going to leave our loved ones? That's why this is important. It's just not entertainment or a wow factor. It's a mission for us to be redeemed and to save the souls, save our soul, right? First, thank you, Yahusha. But also, what about our family, our friends, the ones that we say, even our enemies? I was talking to one of my ox yesterday. He didn't realize that there's a guy, we talk about him often, I can't remember his name, Dave, I can't think of his name right now, but he was a black man, and he was up there talking to the KKK, getting them to take off their sheets, and getting out the KKK. And he's not even a Christian or nothing. He was just going around the bus, they came on the bus, he used to talk to him, they took off his sheets after, he's like, why do you hate me? He's just asking questions. Why do you hate me? Who do you know me? And they were like, no, I was just taught to do this. And he's getting all these 20 plus people to take off their sheets and give them to him and get out the KKK. Now they were his friends before he died. So here we are, we say we got the Ruach, right? We got this Holy Spirit within us. And why can't we do the same? Or do we limit ourselves because of fear? Because we are scared to show who Yahusha and what he did for us. You got to know all these words, right? All in the Bible, all this stuff I'm teaching, right? It's just by your testimony. How many people you told your testimony to without fear, right? That could change their life, right? So we can understand that there's going to be a separation. And he says he's going to take the wicked out from us. Let me see how much time I got. All right. And then we go to the next one. Anybody else would like to read? Anybody else? All right. I'll do it. So Matthew 13. Oh, you going to read? Okay. Who got the mic? Oh. 51 through 52. I'm just trying to save time because I know time is working on us.
It says, have you understood all these things? They said to him, yes. And Yahusha said to them, therefore, every scribe who has become a disciple of the kingdom of heaven is like a head of a household who brings out of his treasure things new and old.
Thank you. So he's now talking about, make sure they got it. We all got it now. What we just talked about before this, y'all got that? About the pearls and the treasure. We good? We understand that. So now he's going to break down, Yahusha says, every scribe are the people that's basically writing the text, right? Because they didn't have printing press and stuff, that has become a disciple, a believer in Yahusha, of the kingdom of heaven, you got to get in the kingdom through Yahusha, right? Is like a head of household that brings out his treasure things new and old. So it's kind of like, somebody back in the day come in, you want to show them all your good stuff, right? You want to show them not just the new stuff you just got, but what about the valuable ancient stuff you got, right? So when it comes to a scribe, what would he be talking about? What would be the old and the new, right? The Tanakh, Torah, and then the new wine that Yahusha comes with the Gospels, right? So he's basically presenting these things to other people with joy to understand. You have to connect the two. That's what I was saying. There's no way you can have the new wine and not understand what the wine is, right? You got to understand where it comes from. Look at those labels and understand if it's the cheap stuff or not, right? That's right. The fulfillment, the mysteries. That's what we talked about earlier, earlier part of this. He said the hidden mysteries from old, right? So you got it. So all that is in the context of this. So when we talk about this as well, so there were some certain people. Anybody heard of the Rechabites? Next slide. The Rechabites. So let's just read through this. I'll read through it just for the sake of time. Jeremiah 35. It's going to be important to understand this. I'm coming to Black history as part of this. All right. That's what I was talking about earlier with the Gullah people. So pay attention. So it says, Rechabites 35, 1 through 19. The word which came to Jeremiah from Yahuwah in the days of Joachim and the general Josiah, king of Judah, saying, go to the house of the Rechabites and speak to them. Bring them into the house of Yahuwah into one chamber and give them wine to drink. Then I took Jezaniah and son of Jeremiah, the son of Habeziah, and his brothers, and all his sons in the whole house of the Rechabites. All the Rechabites, he came before them and was going to give them wine to drink. And I brought them into the house of Yahuwah along with the Israelites, right? The Israelites that he was trying to also show something to. But he says, I brought them into the house of Yahuwah, into the chamber of the sons of Hanan, the son of Igadalah, the man of Yah, which was near the chamber of the officials, which was above the chamber of Masiah, the son of Shalom, the doorkeeper. Then I set before the men of the house of the Rechabites pitchers of full wine and cups, and said to them, drink wine. But they said, we will not drink wine. For Jonadab, the son of Rechab, they call what? The Rechabites. So they're descendants of Rechab. Who's Rechab? Our father commanded us, saying, you shall not drink wine, you or your sons forever. So, very interesting. They were presented with something, and they said, no, we're not going to do that because our fathers told us not to do it. Right? So, you got a question on me? We just got a hand up. Okay, I thought you had a question. All right, so who are the Rechabites? Let's go to the next slide. Why is this important? Why would he call the Rechabites forward? So, anybody know about Hobab? Hobab, the brother of Moses, brother-in-law of Moses. So, Zipporah, what's Moses' wife's name? The black woman, called her Cushite. Not Keturah. Zipporah? Yeah, Ethiopian one. That's Zipporah. I don't know why it is a Z. I don't know why I'm drawing blank. But this is her parents. So Jehul and the Midianite, right? They talked about his father, right? So this is the brother. Moses went to the brother when he was talking about going to the promised land, leaving. He said, I need somebody to help me through the desert. So he went to Hobab and he asked Hobab to lead him. And Hobab said, no, I don't think I'm gonna do that. He said, please. So he said, okay. He said, I'll give you, you'll be blessed by our, Yah, and you'll be protected, basically. You'll be among us, right? So there were some people among the Israelites, right? So that's why I tell people we got to accept Gentiles and other people too, right? It's a plan that he had from the very beginning, but we still know who we are as a people. So that's who the Hobab is. Then in Judges, it says the descendants of the Canaanite, Moses' father-in-law, right? So they had some descendants among them that were called Kenites, that was among the Israelites, went up from the city of the palms with the sons of Judah. So the Kenites lived among the sons of Judah to the wilderness, Judah, which is in the south of Arad, and they went and lived with the people, went and lived with Judah. So the Kenites was a group of Hobab, the Midianites, that actually lived among Judah. All right. Then in Judges 4, y'all might know this story. It says, now Heber, I'm sorry, not this story. Now Heber, the Kenite, this guy named Heber, has separated himself from the Kenites and from the sons of Hobab, the father-in-law, it says father-in-law, but it really was the brother, but it says father-in-law of Moses, and had pitched his tent as far away as the oak in Zaananim, hopefully, which is near Kadesh. All right. And then Judges 4:17, this is the part you might know about the battle with Sisera, right? Deborah, the book of, Deborah, the prophetess that the man didn't do right and she led him for. So now Sisera fled on foot to the tent of Jael, the wife of Heber the Kenite. Anybody heard of Jael? The one that put the hammer in the peg? Y'all know she was a Kenite? She wasn't an Israelite. And it said it was a song to praise her for what she did. So she shows you that we got to be careful. A lot of Israelites act like they want to be racist and stuff. There's other people living among us as well that will also receive the covenant. But it says, well, not covenant, but a covenant. I'll put it that way. For there was peace between Jabin, the king of Hazor, and the house of Heber the Kenites. So this is where we get to First Chronicles 2:15. It says the family of the scribes who lived at Jabaz were the Hatharites, the Shimeonites, I'm making these names up, and the Skukathites. These are the Kenites who came from Hamath, the father of the house of Rechab. So we can see that's how Rechab came, right? He came through the Kenites. So this makes it even more powerful. So he's talking to these people. Go back a slide. So he's talking to these people who's not even Israelites, right? He's talking to them and told them to drink. He said, because of their fathers told us not, we'll never drink, because our father told us to do that. So that's important. And he's showing the Israelites, right? He's showing them, these people who are committed to their fathers, what their fathers told them to do. All right. So that's why I didn't put that. If you missed that Rechabite, you missed this whole story, right? So let's go to the next. So going back to the story, it says, but they said, we will not drink wine, for Jonadab, the son of Rechab, our father, commanded us, saying, you shall not drink wine, you or your sons forever. You shall not build a house. So they were basically nomads. And you shall not sow seed, and you shall not plant a vineyard or own one, but in tents you shall dwell all your days, that you may live many days in the land where you shall join. We have obeyed the voice of Jonadab, the son of Rechab, our father, in all that he commanded us, not to drink wine all our days, we, our wives, or our sons, or our daughters, nor to build ourselves houses to dwell in, and we do not have vineyards or field or seed. We have only dwelt in tents and have obeyed and have done according to all that Jonadab, our father, commanded us. So they were obedient to what the father told them to do all this time, right? So that's going to be important, because it says, but when Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came up against us, we said, come and let us, you might want to cut off that mic. Come and let us go to Jerusalem before the army of the Chaldeans and before the army of the Armenians. So we have dwelt in Jerusalem. Then the word of Yahuwah came to Jehoram, saying, so this is important, right? So this is when Yah's like, this is why I did this. This is why I set it up, right? Oh, I'm sorry. I won't keep paying attention. All right. Let me see. Go back forward. Go forward. And what verse are you on? Yeah, this is the right one. Oh, you told me to go back. Oh, that was earlier. I'm sorry. So it says, verse 12, then the word of Yahuwah came to Jeremiah, saying, thus says Yahuwah of hosts, the Yah of Israel, go and say to the men of Judah and the inhabitants of Jerusalem, will you not receive instruction by listening to my words, declares Yahuwah? So now he's rebuking the Israelites. So he just talked about the Rechabites and saw their faithfulness to what their father said. So now he's going to the Israelites, and he said, verse 14, the words of Jonadab, the son of Rechab, on which he commanded his sons not to drink wine or observe, so they do not drink wine to this day, for they have obeyed their father's command. But I have spoken to you, Israelites, again and again, yet you have not listened to me. So he said, I'm your father. I'm your Ab. And I'm telling you by the covenant not to do this. Thou shalt not. And you ignore me. But here are these people who are not even given the covenant. They're being obedient to what their fathers told them. So he's like, that's a slap in the face, right? Like look how obedient. It's impossible to be obedient because they were obedient. But you're not obedient, and they might not even have a clue why they dwelling in tents. They can't even make vineyards, can't plant nothing. That's hard to do, right? But he's saying, I gave you land, I gave you all these promises of milk and honey, and you can't even do what I asked you to do, right? So next slide. So he says, listen, the part that's important. 15, also I have sent to you all my servants, the prophets, sending them again and again, turn now every man from his evil way, amend your deeds, and do not go after other gods to worship them. Then you will dwell in the land which I have given you and to your forefathers, but you have not inclined your ear or listened to me. So he's like, I've been trying to get you. I've been sending prophets. Do we not have the Bible to this day? Why are we not listening? Now this is back then. We got not only the Tanakh, we got the Brit Hadashah, we got the Gospels, and we still not listening. So how do you think he feels about us to this day? Right? You can understand why we went through the slave trade. We can understand why all those bad things happened to us, and why the prophecy says now that we're waking up, what is he trying to do for us? So our culture, it brings us back to him, but our heart is what he truly wants. That treasure. Do we count it as a treasure? Or we just count it as just a coincidence, right? Do we have our foot on the gas seeking Yah? Or is this, good, just a good moment in time? We're going to go back to the things that we've been doing. Have we been assimilated in a culture that's not ours? Basically celebrating Black history about slavery, right? Because that's why our history starts with slavery for everything. It's good that the things that we accomplish, but still goes back to slavery because we can't get over that wall to understand what great of a people we were even before slavery, while we were enslaved. Even though while we were enslaved, we were targeted by, historians say, because we were Jews living in Africa. That's what they said was the ones that were sold. What does that mean, right? So we got to understand some of these things. For it says in 16, indeed the sons of Jonadab, the son of Rechab, have observed the commandment of their father, which he commanded them, but this people has not listened to me. Therefore, thus says Yahuwah, the Yah of hosts, the Yah of Israel, behold, I am bringing on Judah and all his inhabitants of Jerusalem all the disasters, slavery, at least during that time, 70 AD, destruction of the temple, that I have pronounced against them, because I spoke to them, but they did not listen. I have called them, but they did not answer. So Yah has a requirement. He has a desire for us to do something. This is just not about awakening for us. This is about what he's trying to do for his name, his plan, right? So it says, then Jeremiah said to the house of Rechabites, thus says Yahuwah of hosts, the Yah of Israel, because you have obeyed the commandment, because you have obeyed the commandment of Jonadab, your father, kept all his commandments, and done according to all his command that he commanded you. Therefore, thus says Yahuwah of hosts, the Yah of Israel, Jonadab, the son of Rechab, shall not lack a man to stand before me always. He blessed the people that won't even give him the covenant, the people before them always. Ain't that something? And we got the covenant, and we keep on going through slavery and disaster because we won't listen. So what does that mean for us now? Right? It's one thing to talk about people in the Bible, say, oh, they were crazy. But what about us now? How do we know all this, know what the Messiah did, and not take it so seriously? Right? When there's promises, not only bad things, but promises. So just to talk about this real quick, so I'm going to just summarize this. After Yahushua said all these parables, right? He made all these parables clear. And he came into his hometown and into the synagogue, to the religious facilities. Interesting, right? It's funny how many times Yahushua went to the synagogue and cast out demons in the synagogue. I'm like, what's demons doing in the synagogue, right? But same place that Stephen got stoned was the synagogue, his own people, right? So his own people were fighting our own people, right? So, but he taught them, it says they were astonished. They were amazed by what was being taught, right? They said, where did this man get this wisdom and these miraculous powers? Is not this the carpenter's son? They're gonna always talk about you down in our communities, like, I ain't not so-and-so's son. Like, he ain't no good. Why? How he can go up here and say all this stuff, right? But it says, and his sisters are they not all with us? Where then did this man get all these things? And they took offense. How you take offense? You doing miracles and giving wisdom. So people are gonna be offended when you share who you are, right? This knowledge that you have. So don't get discouraged, right? You're not going to be accepted by your own family. He even said it's going to come with a sword and separate families, right? So we know that this even happened to him. He said we got to bear our cross. So that shouldn't discourage us. We still should be trying to do this to reach our family, right? Just like he had the burdens to sacrifice his life, we need to make sure that we don't get discouraged and continue to do so, because this is about their soul being saved, right? And he did not do many miracles because of their unbelief. So a lot of times we want miracles and stuff. We want to go back to that time with prophets and stuff. That's what I'm looking for. I'm like, yeah, if you were able to do all these prophets and miracles and healings and all this stuff back then, why now that even though we waking up, We don't see this stuff, right? So that goes back to the dry bones waking up. He said he's going to put all the bones together. But as we talked about in Bible study, he said at the end, he's going to put his ruach, his breath. So we haven't got the ruach yet. We know who we are, but are we truly walking in and doing the things we're called to do? So in the same way, until we do the things he's called us to do, why do we expect the miracles and stuff, right? We the ones that woke up, and when some of us do, not here, I'm not talking here, but in general, some of us know to keep the Shabbat and we don't keep the Shabbat, right? Some of us know about feast days and we don't even do the feast days, right? Like the small things, he said every dot and tittle, even the smallest thing, right? A part of the law will not pass away. And the smallest things, like why don't we do those things? So going back to Lent and Ramadan, right? People putting ashes on their head, don't know why, they walking around and they proud. But when we talk about fringes and stuff, people are like, oh, that's not part of my culture. Like, I don't want to do that. I know it's part with the Bible, but I can't do that. Like, what? Or like Ramadan, right? Got people there, they are very dedicated, fasting for 30 days during the day. And we have problems like, what? Fast for atonement? One day? I can't do that. What can we eat? All day? Like, they doing 30 days. We can't do one day. Like, so that's that sold outness that y'all is trying to bring us to, right? That's that treasure in the field, that pearl that you bought. He wants us sold out.
It was amazing Wednesday was in Food Line, right? So last Wednesday, I don't know if the girl know anything about God or anything, but she wanted to take a picture of the man because he had his ass on his leg. I'm like, you want to take a picture of that? I was just shocked by that.
Lent, that's a whole good subject. Lent's not in the Bible. They try to say it's 40 days when Yahushua was in the desert, but he didn't put no ash on his head, what? No. So it's about Tammuz. Just like that Tammuz I was talking about earlier, the month of Tammuz. Even Jewish people weep for Tammuz. That's part of the Bible says people that weep for Tammuz was bad. It was a terrible thing. So not Jews, people that believe in Judaism. I don't want to, stereotype any group. But people that believe in Judaism, they'll still, and that goes back to Tammuz. So like the ash supposed to be a mark of the, what burns stuff? The sun, light. So the ash is a mark of Tammuz. At least that's what people credit Tertullian. Back in the day, he was one of the early church fathers, a black one, that started the Trinity and stuff. Then he renounced the Trinity, and they call him cursed. But anyway, people don't talk about that side of his life. But he said that they take the mark of their God on their foreheads. So people relate that back to Tammuz. So during the time, weeping for Tammuz. Easter is about Tammuz. Yes, Easter. Oh, they starting to do it, which I'm kind of bugged out about that because, when I was a Christian minister, we were like, that's Catholic stuff. A whole bunch of black churches are doing it now. They're doing Lent. They're doing Advent. I'm like, this is Catholic stuff. Why y'all? But it goes back to that one world religion. But there's a lot of stuff. It's actually the agenda. Some of them actually black pastors went to the Vatican to learn from the Pope. If you ever noticed, like pastors used to have ties and suits back in the day, and now they got collars and chains, Roman collars. Like, when that happened? And our church used to do that when we started to go to our fellowships. And I'm like, I don't know what this means. And I said, I just won't wear it. And they say, oh, you can't. Some of the people say, you can't sit in the front with the elders. I was like, okay, I just won't sit in the front. I want to sit with my family anyway. But I said, I won't sit in the front until I get some understanding. And that's when I start looking, and I got on the board. I mean, the church, they put me on the church board. And I started looking at it, and I found a whole bunch of stuff that's like, what? And I sent it to them. They took it all down off the website to a point they changed their website, and just scared me because people in the church were sending me stuff, and I was like, oh, wow, this got to be discussed. And they didn't want to deal with it, so that's why I left my church. It wasn't about Hebrew Israelites and all that. It's because they wouldn't talk about this. And I went to my seminary, white seminary, and they were doing it. I was like, what is this? Talked to the dean, VP, vice president, and we don't know what really it means. I said, this is Catholicism. We're trying to understand. I said, you're building a whole facility for it, and you're forcing us to be part of our curriculum. So, contemplative prayer. Georgetown University is a Jesuit school. There's LaLoya Mount. LaLoya, look up who LaLoya is. He's a Jesuit. He was praying to a Black Mary in the cave, and a whole bunch of crazy stuff happened. And they're the army of the Catholic Church to pull down Protestants. So a lot of stuff going on with that. Because like some of the current popes are Jesuits. So, but yes, there's a lot going on when you're talking about Lent and all that. That's Sunday worship, Constantine, beginning of the Catholic Church, a lot of that is all mixed into it. Thank you for asking. But I won't go over these other two. I was going to talk about Zacchaeus a little bit, but we got enough. I think y'all good from what we taught. But Zacchaeus, right, he was the one that climbed up the tree trying to find Yahushua because he was too small, right? But after he found, let's go to the next one. But after he found, you know, that he was doing people wrong as a tax collector, what did he say? He said he said when he saw it, they began to grumble, and because Yahushua said, I'm coming to your house. And he said he has gone to be the guest of a man who is a sinner, saying that we need to be around people. We need to be strong enough first. Get strong enough. Don't just go among people and get pulled in what they do, but become strong enough. But after you become strong enough, we're supposed to go out and reach out to other people. That's part of our mission. It's not just being an Israelite and being happy because I know this information. We got to share it. And that's the reason why we're here, to learn, not just to hear me speak, right? It's to learn. And hopefully I'm helping you to learn. But it's really up to each and every one of us to learn and not just be the pew people like we were, learn from some of our past churches and stuff, right? A lot of people didn't even read the Bible. They didn't know nothing about the Testament. They didn't know nothing about the holidays. But now Yah is waking us up. That's part of the awakening. But he said after he woke him up, he said, half of my possessions will I give to the poor. He was that dedicated. He said, I'm going to give half of my wealth to the poor because of what I did wrong. When we wake up, when we got saved, what was our now? How much do you owe? Based upon that old life you used to live. How much bad did you do that now you should be so dedicated now to try to do what's right, to recorrect, help other people that's going through the same thing you were going through, or change situations, the number of people that you hurt, right? So we got to think about that. And he said, I will give back 4 times as much of what I stole, right? He was really ready to receive the kingdom to that point. Right? Not saying that. I'm not trying to get no collection plate or nothing. Don't worry. But it's really like, where's our heart at? That's the reason why Yah has those things, right? To come together, to build our communities. That's the reason why we're supposed to be. Not for somebody to drive a Bentley and a Mercedes and all that. It's, should give the laborer, the mule, what it's due. But it doesn't mean that tithe was supposed to go to the widow, to the orphan, to those things. Do we see that stuff happen in our community now? No, we need to start doing that. That's why we try to do the charitable stuff, right? That's why that's important as well, right? So next, and this is the last one. Oh, actually it's 2 more, but I'm just going to make this the last one. But it says, they thought the kingdom was going to happen immediately. And what did he say? He said, he told another parable. I like this man who was rich. He's going on a trip. He has slaves. He gives one slave. We gives each slave 1 coin. Let's just say coin. And it says in verse 14, but his citizens hated him and sent a delegation after him saying, we don't want this man to reign over us. So the citizens were the ones that came against the noblemen, right? Not the slaves that was just given 1 talent and told, hey, while I'm gone, make this increase, right? He told his slaves to make it increase. The citizens were the ones that tried to get rid of him. So if you think about the citizens of this time in this parable, it would be the Israelites that was trying to get rid of them. The slaves were the ones that he called forth in order to, increase, right? But then it says, when he came back, one of them said, look, I took your 1 and I made it 10. Another one said, I took your 1 and I made it 5. And then another one, let me see. He said, okay, since you made it 10, I'm going to make you authority over 10 cities. He didn't say 10 times your wealth. He made him authority over 10 cities. He made ruler, the slave. The slave who was bound ended up becoming free and become a ruler. Another one he gave him 5, so he became ruler over 5 cities, right? And then next slide. So this is when he says, the one that came and he said, I was afraid of you. I was too scared. I knew what kind of man you are. You're a very, stern man. Even though you told me to go and make money, I decided not to because I'm scared of you, right? And he called that man wicked, right? He said, you worthless slave. So it's not just about knowing who we are as Israel, right? He wants us to produce fruit. So that's why it's so important for us. He wants us to be totally sold out. But then at the end, it talks about, and he took the 1 away from the man who was supposed to save it and gave it to the one who had 10. And I'm like, oh, why did you give it to him? He got more than enough. Because he's like, look, he's the way he did what I was supposed to do, what I told him to do, right? But then in verse 26, it says, I tell you that everyone who has, more shall be given. But from the one who does not have, even what he does have shall be taken away. Then he says in verse 27, but these enemies of mine, he's talking about the citizens, the Israelites, who did not want me to reign over them, bring them here and slay them in my presence, right? So, saying that, hey, we don't have a problem. We got a problem with Yahusha, problem with things that Yah tells us to do. We know where the end's going to go. You can't say, you are my creator, my master, my everything, but I'm not going to do what you told me to do. That's not going to work, right? So we got to be about our Father's business. We got to make sure, like I say, step on that gas. And when we do that, these other things will easily start falling off because we have our focus on him. All right?